Great day. We are in week 7. I am Marquise Neesmith. And for this assignment, we're going to be talking about Naked and Afraid. It's a television TV show series where survivalists are dropped in the wilderness and they are naked and they have limited resources and they must survive for 21 days without food, shelter, these things they have to build. Um, and so I'm going to be explaining this to the best of my abilities for this assignment. So the genre, once again, is based off of two survivalists, one male, one female. Could be different gender, different nationality, race. It doesn't matter. They're randomly selected and they're sent out to places like Brazil or Amazon, and they have only thing they can take is maybe a knife or a pot, and they have to survive. So the subject of the genre is more so of as adventure and survival show. Talking about the subject once again, two strangers dropped in a remote wilderness. The theme is more surviving extreme conditions. Um, once again, not having clothes, the weather plays a big part in the conflict. Um, different type of predators out in the wild, no shelter. Some people just bring a fire starter. Some people, bring a pot. Some people bring knives. So these things out there, these survivalists have to go out here and survive in harsh conditions for 21 days. And so that's goes really with the conflict, and the master plot is really just overcoming the journey, right? Once you're out there in the wilderness, you have to adapt and overcome, become resilient, right? Work with your partner. A lot of times, there's a lot of feud there. No communication or the wrong type of communication, and sometimes you have to separate and then come back, and they solve it, the problem, and that's when the camaraderie really comes in. And the tone is definitely intense. It gets fiery out there. Whether it's the natural reaction of like mosquitoes, ants, or stepping on thorns and things like that. No shoes. It gets really intense. The tone is an intense show of survivalists. And so the mood, speaking on the mood, right? Sometimes the contestants get depressed, right? Missing their families. Sometimes most of them don't make it, right? I'm laughing, but it's funny. But yeah, sometimes most of the contestants don't make 21 days, let alone 5 days. These conditions are harsh for them. It's a lot going on for them. But that's when once again the camaraderie kicks in. Like I said, it's one male, one female, and they have to work together, or they choose not to work together, depending on what they have going on in the situation. But that's when the camaraderie kind of kicks in because the other survivalists want to see other people succeed, right? That's the better part about it and learning about uh, hegemony. Oh, don't get me started. Hegonomy, something like that. You know what I'm trying to say. Y'all know what I'm trying to say, all right? About keeping that status quo of master statuses and power, right? So explain or create a table of each character. So the protagonist, the leading character, typically, is the most equipped survivalist. And sometimes, and most time, it is the male, and that he takes on that role as the provider. But don't get it twisted, because this antagonist, antagonist, the queens out there, the women, they are holding their own. Like sometimes, most time, they are actually doing better than the men. You know, but out there in the wilderness, in those type of conditions, they don't try to force themselves into being in that important role. They say, well, they decide to follow the men lead on some things. But when it comes down to like gathering and things like that, cordage and building the shelters, these and fishing and things like that. These women were right on time. So the foil, a character with that contrast with another, such as a protagonist. Um, Oh, sometimes they do group challenges as well, right? They take some of the best survivalists that has completed the challenge, right? And they call it the XL challenge, right? And so you will have maybe like 6 men and 6 women. And they kind of make different type of challenges where it might be 2 men working together, uh, a male and women, three, 2 women, 1 male. You know, they mix it up, and these people are forced to work together in these type of environments. So that's a good representation of foil, right? And the minor characters are the medics, right? The medics are not that close as we can see, right? As the viewers of this series, but the medical team is not close by the survivalists, right? If it's like a dire need to where they are going through excruciating pain, they'll be like, we'll call the medic. Or if they, one got bitten by a snake, they had to call a medic. When people want to quit, in their case called tap out, they have to call a medic. So they really have a small part in the course. That's a minor. Archetypes, handout from class. I had to check that handout from class. Settings, man. So the setting, like I said, every place that's kind of having harsh conditions in the world. Sometimes it's Ecuador. I also see some down here in Georgia, but most time it's like the Everglades. I see some survivalists out there in some snow for 14 days, I believe, on the ocean water. Oh my lord, yeah. Amazon, Africa is a whole lot in Africa. Um, you name it, wherever they got harsh conditions and some foliage with a lot of photosynthesis in that environment. That's what these people will be, and I love it because it shows all aspects. Sometimes morning, night. So the time varies and the place locations varies, but the context is the same. You're naked and afraid. You're naked and you're surviving out in the wilderness with your resources and things that you have learned and know. So I definitely love that show because it helps people and give people confidence and makes people want to get back outside, most importantly, right? You got to get outside and learn how to, just basic things like how not to start a fire and how to start a fire, but how not to start a fire, especially how dry Colorado is, right? So we'll leave that there. Um, the audience target. So typically they're looking for, I guess you could say people that's typically in their 30s, maybe I'll say 27 or 20, yeah, 27 to maybe like 60. I think that was the oldest, somewhere around there. That's the age group of survivalists. I'm pretty sure it's 18, but I don't. I personally haven't seen too many 18-year-olds on the show, right? Typically, people are in their late 20s, 27-ish, all the way up to maybe like 50, 60. I see some older people on there. Male and women are the genders that are there, male and female, I should say. uh, all different types of race and orientation um, out there. The status, survivalists. Like I said, some people are have behind the desk jobs out there. They come from uh, single family homes. I see people when they went back home, went back to apartments. Some people went back to a ranch. So status varies. Education level, survival. Everybody has to have a good edu- education level in survival, right? To even go on the show. Sometimes they allowed the fans to go, right? And that was awesome. But the fan also had to go through some educational trainings as well. I think it really. it targets people that want to be outside, who's outside, who's camping and things like that, who might get into a situation to where a truck may go down, or a boat may get a hole in it. Then what to do next, right? And that's survival. So I definitely love the fact that it targets a specific audience, right? People who are outside in the wild. Well, I say in the nature, not wild, but in the nature, and if something may go wrong, they have planned, prepared, ready to execute their mission in packing, right? In surviving. Maybe you forgot your pack. Maybe you forgot your food, right? Can you go out there and set a snare and catch a rabbit and feed your family? So I think that's a very important audience. What would be different about the text if it were created for for a different audience? Maybe the narrative, maybe the locations. Definitely wouldn't be out in the Amazon or in the desert of Africa where they got wild lions and cheetahs and leopards out there, man. Uh, so definitely probably maybe an office setting, surviving a office setting, right? Because those people have to survive too. The the what's it called? Stapler clicking, hole punching, hearing phone rings left and right. So I think that's a good analogy. How will authors approach this if the text they were preparing this story for an audience in a different time period? Oh man, this is I honestly think it'll actually be better back then, because the technology, we have rifles and bow and arrows, but they had to make primitive spears, primitive bow and arrows, primitive snares and traps, with the holes and the pitches out the hole, man. So I think it would have been so much better, having this thing in the back of a few decades ago, just to see what type of tools they'll make, what type of shelters, right? Would they still go with a TP? Would they go with a lean-to? Would they would try to make an A-frame, right? These type of things are so, um, I enjoy them. All right, summary. Write an effective summary from your selected by initiating events, response, consequences, resolution. Man, I absolutely. To wrap this up, I think that Naked and Afraid is an all-time survivalist show. I believe it's been something that's been taught, but not endured enough. They take away the Boy Scouts. Take away camping. What's it called? Summer camps. The kids can go sleep in the woods and stuff like that. Um, so I think everything, to summarize, is definitely needed for modern society, especially for those people who are trying to homestead right now. I think that's one of the biggest thing out here, that most people are out here in America homesteading now, because they their um, love their safe space. Can't think right now, but I know this is pop culture, right? We talk about pop culture, right? The consequences is, a lot of people go out there and they go on these hiking trips and get lost, and get attacked by wild animals, or just don't know how to build a fire. So that's a lot of consequences. And the resolution is, you have to persevere, right? At the end of the day, when tough times come, you just got to sit down, relax, and create a plan. Planning is very important. A lot of people just go nilly willy, want to do this, want to do that. Just make a plan. Slow down, make a plan. What's important now? Fire, water, shelter. All right. Awesome. Yeah, and so these king and these queens have to work together, and so I love the fact that they have to work together. They're forced to work together, right? Uh, my final thoughts address two of the following questions. I think it is very important for the culture, right? Because you got people different walks of life. You got people, a person from New York, maybe you got somebody from